like telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do at the rec center?
About myself? Yeah, sure. So I started with campus rec in undergrad, my freshman year. Yep, I joined our club wrestling team, and I started officiating intramurals. So I started with 5-on-5 basketball. Throughout the years, in terms of club wrestling, became a president, captain, and all that stuff. So that got me involved in the club sports side of things. And in terms of intramurals, I went from an official to a game manager to the program assistant of officials, where I was scheduling them, training them on various sports, going out there and evaluating them. From those roles, I applied to be a graduate assistant, and I got a position at Georgia State University, where I was graduate assistant at competitive sports, overseeing sport clubs and intramurals, while I got my master's in sports administration. I got my job here, so I graduated in May, applied for this position, where I'm now the coordinator of intramural sports and youth programs. So on a day-to-day, a lot of what I do is just running these leagues, making sure we have games, we have facilities, we have staff, all that stuff, while also trying to empower my student employees to take charge, develop skills that they can use outside of just this role.
Nice. And what made you want to take over the intramural programs at UMaine as compared to like the school you got your master's or something like that?
Yeah, so going down to Georgia was a bit of it was just different, a little bit of a culture shock, although I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Massachusetts, went to school in Rhode Island, and I felt like the students and the faculty and just the area was a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited to come back up to Maine. Spent a lot of time in Maine growing up. My parents live in Maine now. So somewhere that's more familiar, another New England state school, like where I went to undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like it was a good fit, and I have experience in a similar setting.
Yeah. And how well, if at all, I'm not 100% sure, but how well did you know Thad, if at all? I assume you met him probably at some point.
Before taking this position?
Yeah, or in the process of taking it, or.
Sure, yeah. I'm familiar with
Mm-hmm.
Thad. I did not know him until I interviewed here, so when I had my on-campus interview, I met Thad, of course, since he was one of the people interviewing me. And then when I started off, he's been in and out. He was retired, but he's still around, and he's
Mm-hmm.
teaching a course. So, I know relatively well, but not super close.
What changes have you brought to the intramurals program since you've taken over, if any?
Sure. Made a fair amount of changes. So first, with like the scheduling of things, I create the schedule for the leagues the day after registration ends, so we know the number of teams, and then we just make the 4-week regular season, then we have a 2-week playoff. So teams sign up for a day in a specific 2 or 3 hour time frame, so it could be Mondays from 8 to 10 p.m. That's when you have your games, which is not how it was in the past, as I understand it. Additionally, with some of the sports, I've tried to make them more consistent with NERSA rules. So NERSA is the governing body of campus rec.
Mm-hmm.
So with 7-on-7 flag football, for example, in the past the fields were much smaller, much more condensed, which then affected the rules. So there was, in the past you couldn't punt, for example.
Right.
So I made some of those changes as well, just expanding the fields, being more aligned with those kind of rules, and more consistent with other programs throughout the country.
Nice. I know you talked briefly about it earlier, but what role do your student employees play in like the overall process, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, they really do everything. I'm just here to kind of make sure things are going well, coordinating a few things, but the day-to-day operations, they're doing it all. So it starts with our officials.
Mhm.
We don't have officials, we don't have games, right? So we offer organized sports, right? So it's different than just going and playing pickup, and the first thing you need is an official or officials. And then we have supervisors as well, so they're running check-in. They're making sure things go on time, things are safe. If anyone's injured, they're trained in CPR first aid to make sure they're providing care. And then lastly, we have program assistants. So they're out there each night as well, overseeing everyone working, overseeing all the games, and they kind of have more ability to float and make sure things are going well from a bigger picture standpoint. Additionally, they have office hours where they each have certain roles. So one might be marketing, so they come in and they're developing marketing plans, developing content to put out, trying to figure out some bigger picture things, how to bring in different populations into our program to be more representative of the student body here instead of just like the specific regulars that participate.
Nice. And again, I know you touched on it earlier, but like take us through what your average day, either here or like during intramurals, would look like.
Yeah, my average day, it changes, right? So some days I'm just in the office and that's what I'm doing, and then some days I'll come in a bit later. I'll be there for the games. A lot of it is just making sure that things are going as planned, right? So if that's administrating, forfeits and charging people for forfeit fees, or making sure, we have games going on that night. If a team can't make it, if they default, finding another team so people can play games. And then there's collaborating with the other people in the department. So work with TJ, who does marketing a lot to develop new plans, new ideas to get in front of students and bring them into our programs. And then also working a lot on kind of like the future goals and what I want out of this program. So it could be new programming ideas. So one thing we're working on is partnering with Special Olympics of Maine to create a unified program.
Nice.
And then a lot of the other free time is spent on student development. So what I can do for my staff and our participants to prepare them for life outside of the university.
And then last question is, what are you most looking forward to for next year, for like, what you'll be able to do next year with different sports or different whatever?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing continual growth. So first, with our participants kind of being more acclimated to the changes I've made, I realize that change is tough, and so having everyone or more people on the same page will be great. And then also seeing growth from my student staff, seeing them take more initiative, seeing them grow their leadership capacity or any other skills really, become better officials, becoming better supervisors, whatever it is what I'm most looking forward to next year.
Nice. Yeah. It's great talking to you. Thank you for letting me in.
Yeah, of course. No problem.